What is up, everybody? I'm back at it again with another episode, and I'm here with the one and only Rob Stuff. This guy is a seasoned investor, seasoned collector. He owns his own retail collectible shop as well. He drives a beautiful Tesla, which I'm super jealous about. And I've been meaning for a long time to get you on. I know you're big into HRO. I know you did a lot of stuff with Pokemon cards. I know you're big into VeVe. So I was like, man, it'd be great for us to, have the opportunity in chat. So thanks for coming on, dude.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you so much for having me, man. Been a big fan for a long time, just like everybody else. You're one of the first people I ever found when I found VeVe and got me down this rabbit hole, man. So thank you for that. I appreciate you.
So crazy, man. And it's so funny because, given your background, and, you tell me before the show with Todd, how this thing wouldn't even sell in the stores. And then I'm going,
yeah, I had them on the shelf for months and nobody would buy them. I ended up, I don't remember, this was years ago, but I ended up selling them for like less than what I paid for them, I think, just to get out of them because nobody buy them. And then here it is, I see people paying $1,000 a piece for them for certain bit numbers. And it's like, man, I had a stack of them.
Wow.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So did your collectible business potentially boom a little bit more with like VeVe related physical products after the initiation of VeVe, or no?
Not really. I kind of moved along from the physical statue world. I do a lot of Funko Pops. I sell a ton of Funko Pops, but that's pretty much the only statues I sell right now. I moved away from it because there's just not a whole lot of money in it. That's something else that it just, if you're comparing physical to digital, you always get the argument of people have about, are cards as valuable as collectibles or whatever. And it seems like in the digital space, everybody thinks the collectibles should be more valuable, but in the real world, that's just not the case, man.
Right. It's almost backwards, I feels like, on VeVe, like, because you said these are worth the least amount of money in real life, but on VeVe, for whatever reason, maybe it's the augmented reality feature, or maybe people think it's like an avatar, but like you said, they go for a lot more. And when you do the comparison, it just doesn't make sense. But I think the argument that I made with Todd was, it's like, hey, it's first to the blockchain, it's the first Batman.
Yeah.
So did you buy that argument, or was that a little bit like, oh, I don't know?
I mean, I do buy the argument to a certain degree. I just don't know how many people that's going to matter to in the long run. I mean, for VeVe to really take off, and I'm not knocking Todd. I think Todd's one of the best pieces out there, so I don't want anybody thinking that. But for it really to take off, we need mainstream adoption. And the bottom line is, we're a bunch of crypto nerds in here right now. That's just the way it is. And once the mainstream people get here, are they going to care so much about it? I don't know. I do think the FA is going to hold a lot of weight with true collectors, like the people who want to put in the big money. But I just don't know if the average consumer is going to really care about it that much, to be totally honest, but we'll see.
Right. And I was going to ask you, like, with statues, like, it doesn't even matter that a statue came out first and then there was all these subsequent statues. Like, that has no real meaning, right? It's more about like the artist that went into the project, how it looks aesthetically, or like, what does that look like?
Man, to be honest, the most valuable statues that I know of personally are just the ones that are super limited. It's even like the ones that are like the really cool artists and stuff. Like I've had literal Jim Lee statues before that didn't sell worth a flip because there was so many of them. They just made them 10,000 or 20,000. They were hard to get rid of. And same thing with Todd until VeVe took off, and of course the prices shot through the roof, which was aggravating. It's like, man, I wish I still had all my Todds. I could really hook a lot of people up, but yeah, it's just, you just don't have the market with the collectibles, but they're bigger, they're bulkier, but it's also going to be harder, in my opinion, to put utility, like actual utility, behind a collectible in the a statue, as opposed to, like, let's say an HRO card, which is, there's a lot of utility because you're playing the leaderboard and all that stuff, or a comic that you can read or whatever. So I think but they definitely can beat that. And we're seeing that with like the bat cows. If they could put utility like they're putting in those bat cows, on VeVe, I think that'll be huge.
Right. So you think that'd be a major catalyst. And have you seen any kind of utility in the physical collecting realm that was like worth noting, or is it pretty basic? It's just like, here's your statue, take off.
Not really. I mean, every now and then they'll have, like, I have seen before, like, you buy this, you get a movie ticket or whatever in a Funko Pop or something. I have seen that before, but it's very rare in the physical world. I think, I don't think it's something that happens a whole lot.
Interesting. So here's my contention on blockchain and why I think, like, you know, because I know what you're talking about, like scarcity. They can, you know, have cooler, better, you know, I know like HRO had the one of one like Batman card, which is insane. I think what was the offer so far? Like 75 grand or something like that?
I don't know. I just know it's nuts. Yeah, there's a lot of money flying around on that site right now. I just made a huge trade on HRO, so we'll get into that later.
Let's get into that now. Tell me, I want to hear this.
Well, I'm number 2 on the hybrid right now in the world,
shit, dude.
And the number 1 on the hybrid is named Fane, and he said he's a cool guy, but he's just putting way more money in than I'm willing to put in. But he offered me a deal a while ago, and it was basically for an A6 card, an A8 card. I mean, this is what was included in all of it, and then like, wow. You know, just some super low minutes. I mean, it was like a multi-$1,000 deal that we did like in a couple seconds. So it's nuts, you know. But I love it. I love HRO. HRO is a blast,
man. And the cool thing with HRO, it's like a closed system, right? Like all the things work, all the components are there. You can trade, you can, you know, sell your stuff. You can like, and then on top of that, they don't keep the first minutes. Like I know VeVe keeps the first 40 and used to be the first 16, but you could you can actually get a number 1 if I'm not wrong. Right?
I did, man. I pulled a number 1 Batman Bruce Wayne Superior card on my first ever opening. I did live on stream, and I pulled a number 1. Man, it's freaking nuts. And then the guy that's always in my chat, he pulled a number 1 legendary. And he's I don't want to get too deep into his business, but I mean, people have offered him like well into, you know, over 5 digits for this card, for the physical and the digital, that he paid 70 cents for in a pack from Walmart.
Bro, don't you feel bad for all the people walking by at the Walmart store and not knowing what's in those packs?
It's nuts, man. Well, I mean, that's realistically, I mean, not to change the subject, but that's what I built my entire business off of, man. My Amazon business is completely built off of buying things for retail and reselling them that people missed, that they didn't see at the store, didn't know what it was worth, you know. So there's a lot of opportunities out there for that, and that's actually what I started YouTube for, was to teach people how to make, you know, become financially free during, you know, with Amazon. That was the whole goal. We didn't talk, you don't even know this about me, but that was my whole goal of starting YouTube. But it's way easier to get people to watch a channel when you're talking about something super speculative that can moon, as opposed to something that can give them financial freedom over years of work. So that's how I ended up with the VeVe train.
Wow. And how is that train going for you now?
I don't know, man. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. There might be another train about to hit us. I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on, but it's all fun, man.
It's all fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta give it to Dr. Profit. He bought I think there was a Spider-Man on the floor for like 21,500 or something, and he's like, he's gobbling them up. I don't know what his like buy and sell targets are, but I'm like, if he just keeps it up, I'm like, you know, potentially there's a few people holding it together, but it is a little daunting, dude. It's
it's very daunting at the moment. We got I think a lot of people got themselves in too deep, you know, people who've just never seen this type of market before, you know. And I'm older, I'm 44, and I've been through, you know, been through a few bear cycles before, and I got burned on a couple of them, just like everybody's getting burned now, you know. And then you learn as you get older, you know, not to overinvest. But, you know, talking about Dr. Profit, I think it's a very good point, because what's he doing? You know, if you look at what he did with the Star Wars drop, he's just buying. Look at that. You know, what's he doing? He's buying. Look at, you know, your friend Silicon Secure. What's he doing? You know, he's not selling everything. He's not, you know, who's selling? The people who are just throwing everything out are not the people I strive to be like. You know, those are the people whose levels I want to get to in this. And so as long as they're still happy, you know, none of my original, you know, research I did on VeVe or the founders or anything has changed. You know, the bottom line is we're in a huge recession right now. I don't know if you saw it or not, but stable coins dropped 30%. And when stable coins drop 30% overnight, there's something bad going on. You know, it's not just VeVe. You know, but the bottom line is we're in a really bad market. We're in a really bad situation, and we're dealing with a startup company that's going through massive growing pains on a worldwide level. Yeah. You know, and the biggest company I've ever ran, you know, the most employees I've ever had at one time is like 29 employees, you know, in several states. And I can tell you, just licensing for that would make you pull your hair out. You know what I'm saying? Just getting the taxes done, the licensing, all that, it just drive you nuts, because everything takes way longer than you think. So anybody out there who's getting mad at them because they haven't had MTL when they promised it, you know, 3 months ago or 4 months ago, has obviously never ran a business where, I mean, these people are dealing with every government in the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And those governments are trying to fight money laundering, which we know takes place in crypto. They all think crypto and NFTs is a scam, and they're going through and they're figuring out how to do that with every country in the world. And as long as they do it right, I couldn't care less how long it takes, because it's just an impossible task. It's something that is going to take time if you do it right. So, nothing they're doing is, I still like everything they're doing. I still like everything about the company, but we'll see what happens.
No, that's reassuring, Rob, because I think a lot of people, they see it and they're like, oh, it's a scam. Like they're trying to take your rights away and you're just going to get stuck in this app forever. And it's like, no, there's a lot of things they're trying to accomplish right now. And I think it was even overwhelming for them. And I don't think they anticipated how massive this was going to be and the trajectory they were going to be on in such, short time.
And how could they? I mean, this is, nobody's ever tried to do this before, ever. I mean, they're dealing with, you have a coin that's supporting this app that's worldwide. This company's sitting in a different country than we're used to. We don't know what the laws are there. We have no idea what the laws are in New Zealand. They're trying to fight terrorism. They're trying to fight, money laundering and all that stuff, which we know is super easy to do because we see it all the time in the space. So I get it. I completely get it. They're doing what they got to do. And I tell you what, if David Yu can walk into Disney's office and convince Disney to give them his IP, that's all I need to know. He's got more, Disney vetted this company and Disney vetted him way more with their lawyers and their money than I could ever do sitting on my computer in a million years. And they're good with them. So I'm good with them.
Right. Like you said, that's a testament to his character right off the bat. And at that point, you should feel assured that of any company in the world, Disney chose to go to VeVe first to do their NFTs. It's almost mind-blowing, right?
Yeah, I have a little group of guys that I'm always on stream with, and you're of course welcome anytime. But the other day they were like, "What would you ask David Yu if you could ask him?" And their questions were like, when's this? And my question was just, dude, what was that presentation like when you were in Disney's office and you're basically nothing? I realized he did the Pokemon stuff years before, which is just as phenomenal. Right. But the fact that you sat there and you got them to hand you Mickey and Walt and Star Wars and Marvel and Donald and Daisy and everything in one swoop is just, it blows my mind.
Right. It does blow my mind. And it's like, okay, so here's I want to talk about this because the first NFTs from Disney is a huge deal in my opinion. But here's my argument, and I want to see if this holds true to you, given your background with everything in collecting. So the reason that I think like the first to the blockchain matters so much in terms of this new digital realm that we're going to is essentially because it's a timestamp. It's like different in my perspective over a physical collectible because you're not looking at any data, so to speak. You're just seeing something aesthetically. As this is something that's like a timestamp and it's on a blockchain that could be tracked. And I feel like that's going to be a major component into the type of purchases that we make in the future. Then the other part to that is how could we actually be able to distinguish value on future Batmans, let's just say from the first, if we're just purely going off scarcity. Like Hero has one of one, but what if another company has another one of one? And then, in 20 years from now, we have thousands of one of ones that are licensed from DC, but only one true first appearance. And that was like my thinking. But then the conversation that we had the other day was with and I was telling you about what my wife said, which was, hey, guess what? Blockchain is just another medium where Batman is living alongside hundreds of other mediums, including, cards and comic books and movies, etc., where all these things are there. So are you giving it way more significance than it needs to be? So I wanted to throw that at you because I just feel like you've got the brain for this, and I'm trying to understand it myself.
She's right, and you're right. And all you need is 7,500 people to agree with you. That's it. You don't need the world to agree with you. You need 7,500 people to say, no, Todd's is because it's the personal blockchain and I'm not going to sell it. That's all that matters. Right. Everybody always wants to argue about, what makes this more valuable? What makes this more valuable? It depends on the individual person. But the bottom line is we only have such a limited amount of these anyway, that if only 7,500 people agree with you that Todd's first on the blockchain and I'm not going to sell it for less than 100 grand, guess what? The floor of Todd's going to be 100 grand. It doesn't matter what the rest of the world, thinks about. I went a couple of nights ago and saw a Paul McCartney concert. There were 20,000 people in that stadium. Less than half of those people have to agree with you, Chad, and be willing to hold on to it for 100 grand for it to even matter. And that's what's so cool about it. It doesn't, it's kind of a mute argument in my mind because of the fact that we're all going to look at this differently. And I think once the masses come in, I don't think they're going to care as much about blockchain, at least for a long time, because most people don't even understand it. You know, most people don't understand blockchain. They don't understand the significance of it. But a lot of people do understand Disney. They understand Batman. They understand all of these things. And those people are going to be fine, I think, with the lower tier items. But also what you have to realize, though, is the voice you have. You know, and that voice is whenever you're talking to your 9,000 or how many subscribers you have or how many people are coming in and watching your video. If you're talking constantly, and I'm talking constantly about FA because we feel like it's important, our influence does go a long way with that. And the future hasn't been written, you know, so it's just, it's how does our community go with it? That's what matters. You know, it's what we set it up, you know, just like this market, you know, if people get so mad because the market's dropping and dropping and dropping. Well, guess what? You know, VeVe told us that Secret Rare Spider-Man was worth $400. That's what they thought it was worth. You know, and they never. Why are you mad at VeVe? The community said it was worth $75,000. VeVe said it was worth $400. Same thing with every other collectible out there. You know, that's way down right now. They're way up from what VeVe said they were worth. This is all dependent on what the community says.
Right. Beautiful. Wow. That's so well said. And that's encouraging too, because it goes to show you the power of the community. Right. And like, I know we had this conversation.
That's what this is, man. This is none of that other stuff matters with the community we're building. This community we're building is phenomenal. I love it.
Right. And one thing I love about it, it's like consistently being like, observed and changed. And like, you know, like, it's not like we're coming up with a principle and then saying, now that's what it is. We're always going back and being like, okay, does this make sense now? Does this make sense now that Hero's here and, you know, the DC back Cowls are here? Like and then the other thing I was going to talk to you about was the utility, right? Because obviously the back Cowls utility is insane. Like we get to write our own comic book story. It's going to be published internationally. Like, you know, we're going to be part of Night Watch. There's going to be limited hand-drawn collectibles supposedly from Matt Mason, like that he was discussing about Jim Lee potentially. So I'm just like, there's so much crap happening. And like, you know, Cowls actually says this a lot too, but utility, he says in his mind, is going to be the number one catalyst for propelling this stuff. You would agree, right?
I agree 100%. And, you know, talking about the back Cowls and you know, VeVe, I love VeVe. I love VeVe wholeheartedly, but they could learn a lot from the back Cowls, just like back Cowls have learned a lot from VeVe. You know, go in your communities and hear what they want for utility. That's what back Cowls are doing. That's what HRO's doing. If you go into any spaces on Twitter, HRO and those guys are in there. They're in there talking to people. They're implementing what we want. You know, and it's smart. It's so smart on their part because they're really listening to the community, you know, and they, you know, the other day, me and Dino Liang were doing a card opening on his channel at like midnight here. And there was like 30 people there. And, you know, this guy starts asking questions about, you know, the packaging of HRO. And I'm like, who is this guy? Come to find out, it's like one of the head people at HRO in our little YouTube channel asking us questions about the packaging, you know?
Wow.
It's nuts, but yeah, Cowls spot on when he talks about utility. In my mind, you know, everybody talks about, oh, VeVe's gonna moon whenever, you know, we get MTL, we get MCP, I think what we need utility and the ability to rent. I think those two things, if we get any type of utility at all, first of all, any utility at all is gonna make people not sell for the prices they're selling out. People are gonna hold. And the ability to rent, I think, would just be a complete game changer. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I mean, of course, it's all, you know, speculation, but that's where I think it just goes up and never comes back down.
Love it, man. And you're so right. And it's not going to take much utility added to VeVe that could probably get them into a way better spot. Like even something that's introducing like a hero leaderboard from MCP points. Right, top.
Dude, that leaderboard's addictive. As you can see it all. That's what that is right there. That's my screen for the hero leaderboard. I mean, I'm just all day while I'm sitting here working, I'm making trades, and it's so much fun, man. That's all they got to do. It wouldn't cost them anything. It wouldn't take, you know, I mean, yeah, they'd have to program, and I understand that, you know, but it wouldn't take a whole lot to have a leaderboard, you know.
Yeah. So you're number 2 right now, right? If I'm not, man. That's a lot of work, bro. That's impressive.
You know, it's so funny because I never intended to buy this many hero cards. That wasn't my goal. And then right when they came out here in the States, they had a bunch of error cards came out. And I've been a card collector for a long time. And when I saw error cards and then I saw they were going to fix it, I knew I wanted those error cards, man. And so I just went on eBay and just bought a ton off of eBay because I knew which packs they were in. And I ended up getting, I think right now I have 96 of the error cards and they fixed the error. So if Hero takes off, those era cards I think will be super valuable. So that's the game I'm playing. But by proxy, I just ended up with a bunch of cards, and then I ended up doing a lot of trading and all that stuff. So now I'm number 2 on the leaderboard.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty impressive. Like, because how many total people are involved in that project? Like, at least over 500 big players, right?
I think it's quite a bit more than that. I don't know the exact numbers though. I'd be lying. I know it's growing really quickly because people are popping in all the time, right. And my VeVe numbers on YouTube are dropping. My HRO numbers are going up. People are watching those videos, so people are definitely interested. So it's really cool.
It's interesting that you say
a lot of fun.
I'm the same way with the analytics now on VeVe. It's like before I would have almost 10 times the amount of views that I'm getting now, but I'm like, these are the loyal people. These are the people that are here that,
these are the people that are going to keep coming back. Well, I kind of have a question for you though, with the market going on right now. How long where's the bottom at, man? I mean, what do you think? Because I have my philosophy is eventually we're going to get to the point to where we're just a bunch of people who aren't going to hold or aren't going to sell. I mean, it's going to get to that point. And if you look at these floors, we have less stuff for sale now than we've had in a very long time. And a lot of people are just like, no, I'm just going to hold, So what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So my thought is it really has to do with what's going on in the world, in my opinion, and like following Bitcoin. And like,
it's a big part of it.
Yeah. I just feel as though, like, even for me, like unless I had tens of millions of dollars in the bank, would I rather have, over $1 million, like, not that I have over $1 million, but other people, would you rather have over $1 million stored up in JPEGs during a time where you don't know what's going to happen? Or would you rather, utilize that for other things? And I think that's where people are going. This is such a new thing. Like, crypto's already new enough, and then NFTs and then licensed NFTs. So it's like you're going from a niche to a niche to a niche.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And I think, like, I think like the long-term prospect is absolutely massive. I think what's going on with Instagram is a good potentially, that could propel it forward. And who knows the connection, maybe it's not so good for VeVe if it, if they're going with this whole new AR thing, but potentially there's some kind of association. I have no idea. But yeah, man, I mean, like, I think, in my opinion, I think it's going to continue to drop for a little bit longer. And then I think, either it's going to pick up again in the fall when people are kind of back inside on their phones, or it's going to kind of stay stagnant for the next year and a half. We're going to keep each other warm in the bear market. And then all of a sudden one day it's going to just fly. And that's the way I see it, like a huge coil. And then it's going to be a moonshot, just like what we saw in January, but with real money.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good point. Yeah, we're kind of on the same page then, because that's kind of what I think is going to happen too.
Right.
But we'll see. It's an interesting ride, to say the least.
Yeah, and VeVe could do so many things, like we talked about, with the utility, or introducing the MCP, or like OMI to NFT. There's so many things that they could do that would change that trajectory. But I think if nothing changes and it stays the way it is, then that's the road that I see, at least for the interim.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I was kind of curious about that. I'm kind of in the same boat. I think they're going to start to, they got to fix a bunch of stuff, which I think they're working on, which is going to take time. We all know that. But I'm like you, though, man. I think if we didn't have this war going on and we didn't have this recession that we're obviously in now, I think it would be a lot different. And a lot of us didn't really see this coming the way it came, because it just kind of flew on us pretty quick. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I think it's going to be probably the end of the year before we see anything or know anything. I do think they could change that, though. I think if they could get some type of utility, I think that would help a lot. And I think they need to just find some kind of way to get people more engaged with the app, because all the app is right now, okay, you can look at your stuff at AR and you can watch the price go down. That's it. That's all you can do, Right. And if they were to have some sort of utility or some sort of gamification, it doesn't have to be a lot. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything major, and I'm not one of these people who thinks Disney's going to start just giving away park access or anything like that, because they're not. I mean, they're in this to make money. That's just all there is to it. But, if you could get it to where, if you own this NFT, you get in early, or you get on this ride early, or you get this, or what, this experience or whatever, I think that would go a long ways towards people just having more faith in things that are going on, because it just gets talked about, and then we don't ever see it. So I think that would help a lot, and cash out will help. All that stuff will help. I'm really excited about, MCP, as far as, like, I'm really not excited about MCP any more than, like, just the rental aspect of it. That's all I really care about. Right. Because I feel, in my mind, MCP is just a way to get people to hold things that aren't as valuable. Really, that's just the way I look at it. And I may be wrong, it's just what I think about it. But I think OUP is going to be big too, especially for the OMI side. Yeah, exactly, man. And, the one thing I could say too is, like, I feel as though they're going to really reward people that are here now. I can imagine I can imagine some pretty incredible drops and things that are on the way. But
But I think it's just at a point now where people are kind of deflated because, you know, like a lot of the things that they've been saying is hashtag soon. And it's like, there's only so many soons. Like it kind of reminds me of showing up to work and I'm like, I'll get you that report next week. And then, you know, and every time I come in, I'm like, hey, guess what? I'll get you that report next week. And after a while, it's like, Chad, listen, buddy, it's been 4 months. Like, where's that report? Like, we need it now. You know?
It kind of sounds like the buy the dip. They'll buy the dip next week. They'll buy the dip this week. They'll buy the dip this week. Yeah,
exactly.
All been playing. See, that was my game plan all along, was just the dollar cost average. And I originally had a 3-year plan to dollar cost average for 3 years. And of course, I've done dollar cost averaged all of that money I had set aside for 3 years in the last 3 months or 4 months. But it is what it is.
And I mean, and the cool thing is that you know, nobody has a crystal ball, so who knows? Maybe the world's like turns on a dime. Like I have no idea, and they're like, listen, like, you know, maybe governments start going into cryptocurrency and everything starts I don't know, right? So I'd like to keep optimistic. I think long term this stuff will matter, just like it would in, like, you know, the real collectibles. But I also wanted to pick your brain on sports cards too, because, you know, that's another thing that not a lot of people know a lot about. And obviously the highest graded cards, there's such few of them that they sell for an extreme amount depending on who the person is, but it's generally popularity and scarcity that is the equation, I guess, to a very expensive card. Would that be fair?
For the most part. And you know, a lot of what's coming into sports card evaluation right now too is like the morals of that person seem to be affecting cards a whole lot in value right now. You know, because the world's changed a little bit, you know, but that's another thing that I would say matters. You know, that's the problem with sports cards is, you know, this person can be great, but if they, you know, if they screw up in their personal life or something, it can really hurt the value of your cards lately. Wow. But yeah, that's pretty much what it amounts to.
Yeah. Wow. That's fascinating. I remember like one of the Kobe Bryant cards. I forget exactly which one it was, but it sold for like $2 million. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
No, I didn't hear about that one at all.
Yeah. It was like, I forget.
2 million. Wow.
Yeah. Over $2 million. Like I don't know like the whole extent of it, but then they also had Mickey Mantle card. I forget. I think it was like on, oh man, I forget which NFT platform. It could have been Autograph or something, but it was a 1 of 1. And it was basically the exact same card that was in the physical realm. And Comics and Crypto did a video on it, and it sold for over 5 million, which is crazy as an NFT.
Man.
Yeah,
that is insane. It was the NFT version sold.
It was the NFT version. Yeah.
Oh, I got to look at that. That's insane. That's crazy.
And so it's interesting because, you know, this whole reborn argument in blockchain, who knows, right? Like when we're seeing price points like that, I'm like, wow, like interesting, you know? And then other people keep saying, well, what if they just all of a sudden decide to do another 10 Mickey Mantle cards and then another 20? Like that's the issue compared to physical assets that are like only so many were created. And then, you know,
well, I'm a firm believer that people are always going to want the first. I mean, I've just seen it, you know, the best example I think is Pokemon cards, you know, because, you know, Pokemon cards, I know Pokemon cards, and you know, that first edition Charizard, why is it so popular? Because it's the first. It's not because it's the best. It's not because it's the most, I guess it was one of the absolute most scarce, but they've made probably 1,000 Charizard cards since then, you know, and that one card is just through the roof, you know, and that's why, because everybody wants it, you know. And it's still way more readily available than some other Pokemon cards. But because it was the first one that everyone looked at as the main card, that's why it's so valuable. And that's why it's going to maintain its value for so long.
Right. Wow, that's fascinating. And I think like you said, that has, you know, going back to the community aspect, that's the community driving, you know, because that demand is there. And it's like, that's just so interesting because the sentiments with Todd now, it's like almost like there's more people saying, oh, well, FA doesn't matter as much and whatever. And now it's now it's starting to decline. Obviously, there's a lot of other factors, but that could be a contributor. And so like in 5 years from now, that might be a totally different philosophy. Like people might come in and be like, oh, like I doubt it, but who knows, right?
Well, I could also see, you know, something else we're dealing with is I could see more utility going to that first thing on the blockchain. You know what I'm saying? You know, if VeVe decided or DC decided, hey, this is the first, so we're going to give it more utility. And we're seeing it right now with the HRO cards. You know, HRO is 100% a mint number game. That's all it is, man. It's the low mints. The low mints matter more than anything because they're giving more utility to the low mints. They're more valuable, you know, and, you know, that's another game VeVe could play. And that's, you know, I don't mean to jump onto HRO here, but they, you know, if you look at the trading card game that we've all loved since we were kids, you add that extra aspect of every possible card could be a low mint. Every possible card could be an awesome hit. it's so much more fun, man. And it makes the chase so much more fun. So as soon as you get card collectors who love the chase, I mean, you're a Pokemon guy, you know what the chase is like to grab a box and be going for that Charizard. You know what it's like. Yeah. But when you can, you have the mythic cards you can go for, but every common, Squirtle you pull out of there could be a number one, you know what I'm saying? And be worth tens of thousands of dollars. It adds another aspect to the game. And that's, if we start doing that with mint numbers on all this stuff and making it a game and making it about that chase for those low mints, that's going to be it's just more utility. That's going to make it so much more fun.
Wow, man. Okay. So this is so cool to hear this because, low mints were more of a, I guess a speculative concept on VeVe, but now we've seen them across many platforms. Terra Virtua is another one. And like now looks like on Hero, that's like a huge, massive component of it, right?
That's the game. Yeah. It's 100% the game. Yeah.
Okay. And I didn't get into Hero because, I'm Canadian, right? So like I could have got a VPN and all this stuff, but I was like, I don't want to be like doing things illegally and just try, you know what I mean? I just like, I want to, if I'm going to do it, I want to be fully immersed.
Well, I was on earlier, and I don't mean to catch up, but I was on earlier with my Collectibles, and he's in Canada, and we were looking, and they actually have people in Canada that have a score. I don't know how that's happening, but they're under the Canadian flag, and it has a score. So we're going to try to figure that out for people.
Yeah, hopefully they're not trolling, and they're just like making fun of us. Like, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it's like, I think Kobe Collects actually has an account. He's in Canada. So I don't know how they did that, because if you used a VPN, it wouldn't show you as being in Canada. So I don't know what's going on with that. But
wow,
that's a lot of fun, man.
That's actually good to know. So with Hero, so I understand there's digital packs, right? Which don't have the physical match, right?
Right.
And they seem to be worth more money, or no?
It's because they're way more scarce. We're having our second digital drop this coming Thursday, and they're 3 cards per pack. And there's only, I don't know how many packs there are, but there's only, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, so don't quote me on it, but there's a very limited number of packs, and you pretty much have to get whitelisted to get the packs. They're given 80% to the whitelist, so only 20% are going out for public sale. And last time, the last drop, the packs that were selling for $50 a piece got up to over 800. I think they were like $880 a pack. So there were literally people who, they bought 10 packs for $500, and within a couple of days sold them for like $8,000. So it's pretty crazy. And then there's some people too that pulled some cards out of there that were worth, $10,000 plus. So it's a lot of fun, man.
No kidding, dude. And I can only imagine now too, if you have the physical card that you get graded, that's a number one, and then it's also matching to the digital asset. Like those three combinations would make it, in my opinion, like worth that much more, because it's really a one of one in both realms, right? Like it's
exactly. And that's why I'm actually going to be sending my cards off to PSA hopefully this week, as soon as I get some time to do it, because I'm getting that A1 graded, and I'm keeping the digital for sure to keep the two together, and we'll see what happens. It's a lot of fun, man. I know I keep saying that, but it's the most fun I've ever had in the NFT realm. It was just perfect for me, because it just adds the card aspect and NFTs, which are two of my favorite things. So
wow,
I love it.
Like you said, it was designed for you, right?
Yeah, and, pretty much. It feels that way.
So are you buying graded cards? Like, is anybody throwing them up on eBay, like PSA 10s of whatever Hero cards?
No, there's been very few graded. I've seen a few on Twitter that people have got them back. I'm not going to send them in for like express grading. I don't see a point in that, because I'm going to hold on to them for a while. But no, I haven't bought any, so we'll see. It's kind of interesting to see what the pricing is going to go for on them, because there's not. I think most people collect them now collect for the digital side. They want the NFTs, because it's in an NFT community. But I think as soon as these hit the card collector community and they see how much fun they are, I think this first set, I think, is going to be crazy, because it's very limited. This first, even the hybrid set, there's only 6.7 million cards. And that sounds like a lot, but when you think about the fact that Pokemon printed over 3.5 billion cards in the last 2 years, it's really nothing.
No kidding. And then there's certain of those cards, like somebody told me it was like a mythic or mystic. There's like some kind of error there. Yeah. Which one is it? Is it mythic?
Mythic. Yeah. There's 3 mythic cards. There's the in the hybrid set, which is what I'm second on leaderboard on. There's the Batman, the Wonder Woman, and the Joker.
Right.
And those 3, there's only 1,000 of each of those printed or available. And a lot of people are talking about keeping cards sealed. A lot of people aren't gonna scan them in or whatever, So I think they're gonna be more limited than that. But it'd be fun to see what ends up happening. Yeah.
Dude, I never even thought about that. Like, that's another interesting component to this, is that you could, if you're some kind of whale, you can just hold them there and then watch the boards never really climb. And then whenever you want, you can just kind of insert. But what is the chances of pulling a card that has only 1 in 1,000? If I think about, like, you know, would that be literally 6.7 million divided by 1,000, or is that?
The odds of pulling is 0.05%. So
1 in
it's
200?
1 out of every 2,000, but it's two. That's what they said, but I think it's 1 in every 2,000 packs by the looks of it, because I've opened a lot of packs and I've only pulled 2, but I don't know. I don't know the exact number, but yeah, it's very limited.
That is insane, because as you know from Pokemon, like, I forget what it was with Charizard, but it was 1 out of every 48 packs you'd pull a Charizard back in the original, and then it got to like 1 out of 220 you'd pull like a Gold Star Rayquaza, and then now with like that Rainbow Charizard, I think it's like 1 out of every, I don't know, like almost 1,500 or 1,800 packs.
I went pretty big whenever Hidden Fates came out, because I really wanted that Hidden Fates Charizard, and I think I opened, I want to say it was like 80 ETBs, which is 800 packs. And I think I ended up pulling 1. I pulled 1 out of there. And then I probably opened another 1,000 packs before I pulled my second. And my first one graded a 9. So that's why I went ahead and tried to get another one. And then I actually did it on a YouTube short. I pulled my second one. It's just funny, the reaction, because I was shocked to have it, because they're super hard to get, man. They're not easy to get, you know.
Is that this one here you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. I didn't even see it up there.
Yeah, man. Crazy
Did
card,
you pull
right?
that? Did you pull it?
I bought it. I bought it. Yeah, because I mean, I would have loved to open up, like, you know, thousands of packs, but I was like, I'm just gonna go buy it. I feel like this is, and it was dipped, right? It was like right now, I feel like it was like under 2K Canadian actually for a PSA.
Oh yeah. They've dropped quite a bit. But see, that was a kind of like an endless money hack I discovered years ago. Was if you got a good Pokemon card set, like that set, like Hidden Fates, you know, you could grade cards back in the day for $8 a card. Well, when I could grade cards for $8 a card, every shiny card you pulled would sell on eBay for 35 to 40 bucks if it came back a 10, and it would sell for 25 to 30 bucks if it came back a 9. So I would just buy tons of cards, open them all up. I would grade all the Pikachus. I would grade all the shinies. I'd grade every GX card, all that stuff. And I was making a ton of money doing that, but now they've changed it to where grading is $100 a card. So you can't afford to do it. You know, there's just no way you can do it anymore. So kind of took that away, but that was a fun little money glitch for several years to open all the Pokemon cards I wanted and still make money.
It's the best feeling.
But as you can tell, I just off camera, I mean, I've got just
let's go. Can we go through a few of them, or is there anything
on stacks?
Rob, they got to show us a few. You're getting my blood boiling.
Oh man, okay. Well, we'll start with this guy. I know you know him.
Oh, beauty! Holy, a Gem Mint 10 too. Look at that.
Yeah.
So what is that? That's about 600-700 right now.
Canadian, yeah, probably about five American.
Yeah, true.
This is not the popular one, but there's the Chunky Chew.
Wow.
Here's a Unified Minds Giratina.
So good.
And then if you go back, I did a PSA unboxing video about, I don't know, probably 3 months ago on my channel, and I had sent these in. I don't know if you know these.
Yeah, I've got that card too.
Yeah, I had sent in like 120 of these. Okay, yep, there you go.
My God.
I sent in like 120 of them, and because they're promo cards, you know, usually promo cards, I always expect them to come back like an 8 or a 9.
Right.
Well, out of those 100 and whatever I sent in, I got like 90 10s. And I was just like 10 after 10. It was nuts, man. So I mean, that's what most of this stack is 10s.
That's unreal.
Yeah, I got cards everywhere. So I don't know if I have anything else like really unique sitting by me.
No, that's super cool, man. I mean, yeah, I loved all your videos. I like, sometimes they're the best videos, just kind of watching somebody unbox something. Like, you know what I wish I did is watched my back cowl reveal. Like, I just did it, but I was like, I should have totally recorded that. It was such a sick feeling. And like, I want to go through Silicon, because Silicon opened all his, and I was like, dude, I should have had you live. Like, it would have been so much fun.
Yeah,
to just go through each one and talk about the rarities, what traits you had, you know.
Yeah. I opened mine on a live stream, but I was honestly really disappointed with the ones I got. They weren't what I wanted. I thought they were both hideous.
How many did you get?
Just two.
The two,
I just
yeah.
got two. Yeah. And it was completely FOMO is all it was. I hate to admit that, but I was kind of like you. I wasn't that excited about it.
Yeah.
But just seeing other people's excitement in it was like, I want to participate in the community, you know, just as part of the community. And so that's why I ended up doing it. I bought one like on drop day, and then like right before it was going live, or right before it was going to end, the event was going to end. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and pick up one board just to do it. So
good for you, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It'd be fun to work out. I don't even know what part of Gotham I'm going to be in yet or nothing. I haven't looked at any of that yet. So, do you know where you're going to be?
Yeah, I think Prison Circuit #1.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
that's
which
cool.
would be cool. Yeah, but dude, my thinking for them is like, I have this, I don't know why, but I have this gut feeling that like long term, you're going to then be able to buy an arm and then a torso, et cetera, put together a full Batman suit. And
that
then
would be cool.
Right? And then potentially then that would be like a 3D NFT you would get, or something crazy. You would customize Batman, you know?
Yeah. Actual avatar that you could actually walk around in and do things in. That would be great.
Oh, it'd be crazy, right? But do you think they're going to go above retail on the secondary? Because I'm kind of like, you know, I'm not sure what the market sentiments worldwide.
I don't think a lot of flippers bought them. I think most of the people who bought them are people who like want to at least see what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see a whole lot of people flipping. I do think, you know, there may be some people like, if you got a really cool one with a rebreather and some really crazy stuff, that might list it really high, hope to sell it, and then maybe buy in a cheaper one. I could see people doing that. But I don't think it was a real big flipping thing that people just went in to flip thinking they're going to make more money on. At least not from what I saw. And so few people minted it that it's, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to go for less than retail, but we'll see. They may. I mean, some people might drop them, you know, but I don't know.
Yeah. No, I know. That's kind of where my head's at too. I think that the project's too cool. And like you said, I feel like people bought into the experience over everything else, you know? And this is kind of a selfish reason for me, but I also bought it because I was like, dude, this is a free 2 years of content. Like on top of that, like I'm
thinking the same thing.
Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like people like, I let's be real, right? Because we both have YouTube channels. And so it's easy content to be like, every 52 days, there's another video. Guess what happened? Or, you know, like I'm in the night watch and now we're going to see, you know, Jim Lee in person at some fandom event. Like, I don't know. Right.
Right.
And so that was to me like another big catalyst too. And I was like, I don't think enough people were thinking about that stuff. And that's where that whole conversation about utility is so key. So what have you kind of seen, I guess, like, you know, going now into these other NFT platforms and being really involved, especially with Hero, and then going back to VeVe and then being like, is that how, like, that's how I felt, you know, like,
Ben, first of all, I'm so bullish on VeVe. It's ridiculous. They're trying to build something worldwide, and it's not as easy as building something in 4 countries. It's just not, you know, and it's a totally different ball game. It's a totally different world, and they're gonna learn from each other. I really feel like that's what's gonna happen. You know, I feel like, you know, HRO came in and they learned a lot of stuff from VeVe, and they have to thank VeVe. They have to thank people like you for bringing people into VeVe, and those people go into HRO. That's where they all came from. If you go look at the HRO leaderboard and you go look at VeVe names, it's all the same people. It is all the same freaking people. So there's no way that, you know, they would have done this on their own, you know. And VeVe just needs to, you know, learn from them just like they learned from VeVe, and they need to just grow off of each other. And that's, you know, that's how things are going to evolve, I think, you know. So but coming back to VeVe with no utility, I think, you know, like we were discussing earlier, you know, there's 2 things to do in VeVe. You can put your collectible, you know, out in the world, and you can take a picture with it, and you can watch your account drop. That's all you can do in VeVe right now. You know, there's no utility for anything at all. And they don't have to put a lot of utility, you know, just MCP with a leaderboard, with things for people to be engaged with, for people to talk about, other than, you know, my account value's falling. That's all they need to do to bring, I think, a little spark back into the community. And like we were talking earlier, that's the thing I'm most bullish on about all of it, is just the community. It has nothing to do with the collectors. The community we're building, I think, is amazing. You know, a lot of phenomenal people. And I think working together, what we're building with this community is more valuable in the long run than any of this is going to be. So, you know, that's kind of my look on it, my outlook on it. I'm glad HRO and Cowls came along when they did, because it is taking some of the heat off of VeVe. And I did feel like whenever, like, we had the HRO drop and everybody chasing those HRO cards, you know, it got people's minds away from the fact that their money they're put in was going down, you know, and it helped it a lot. You know, I felt like, because those couple of weeks, you know, it felt like VeVe was improving. And then, what we saw with the Star Wars drop and the Doctor Strange drop, I think helped a lot in people's mindsets, with the getting over the bot thing.
Yeah.
And it sucks what's happening right now, but I think we're moving in the right direction. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, it's going to take a while, man. You're right. Yeah, it's just interesting because I wanted to see, what your thoughts were on that, because it's just like you have such again, that physical collecting background, and then coming into the NFT space, I just feel like there's not a lot of people that have that. Like, you knew the collecting terminology before people came on and were learning it. And that's the other thing that I keep telling people. Like, we got this mass herd of people that care about mint numbers, fucking first appearance, all these things that you go to a regular person on the street and they're like showing you something. Like, imagine they're showing you a physical statue, like, oh, is that a first edition or a first appearance? The guy's like, I don't know. They're like, oh, you're not a real collector. This is the type of movement that we're starting now in these licensed NFT projects that will likely carry on, because we're all going to be a part of it. So like, we could have like 33% of the world long term that's going to be like analyzing this stuff.
There you go. Yeah, and that's why, like I said earlier, we don't realize as influencers, especially people with bigger channels like yourself, you have so much influence on this space. You're building this space. You and other people, you, Cavell, Randy, all of us, really, we're building this space by the things we talk about, by the things we do. And if we put negativity out there, it's going to spread throughout the space quick. If we put positivity out there, it's going to spread throughout the space quick, because everybody who watches your channel, everybody who watches my channel watches your channel. Let's face it. I've got 3,500 subs. You've got what? 9,000? How many you got?
I don't know, man, like 70, not as much, like not that much, man, 7,500, but like,
but
you know
we have the same ones.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah.
We're a very small knit community, and everybody gets their information from the same place, and everybody gets their mindset from the same place. And that's why, I get so aggravated sometimes, like when I hear, like, I have no problem with putting people like, like how Cavell words his videos. A lot of people get mad about that, but then when you watch the video, he's very positive and he's talking it up the project. I have no problem with that. But there are some people out there who, like, they think they're better than other people. And I'm not talking about influencers. I'm talking about mostly in like Twitter spaces and stuff, where people will go in and they'll be like, oh, well, I was smart enough to buy this stuff early and you guys don't know what you're doing. And they belittle other people. And it's like, man, that spreads and people hear that. If you get somebody new to come in and that's the first thing they hear from somebody is negativity or, slamming on somebody else, we got to watch that. We got to police that in our own community, because it's, we don't need that kind of negativity. We don't need people getting shot down when new people are coming in, because we need this to be a place for everybody.
Man, I love that you said that, because you're totally right. Like, if you went in, bought your first NFT and you're new to the space, and then you go to one of the first Twitter spaces and somebody's saying like, we're crashing and you're an idiot for buying in at this point, et cetera, like, you're not going to want to be a part of it. You're going to duck out fast. So,
well, another thing I think about that, I feel like I'm going on a tangent here, but another thing I think about with that is, what if that person sitting down there is an introvert who, doesn't want to talk to people, but if they came on that space, they have the best idea. And we know we have the CEOs of these companies sitting in these spaces, and we know we have them listening to these YouTube channels. What if they have the best idea out there and they could put that out there that would make us all a ton of money and just improve the experience for everybody, but they're too scared to go up on that space because they heard somebody else getting bullied on that space for an idea they had. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it aggravates me, because it's like, we put in a lot of time and we work really hard, to build this community, and then you have people going in there doing stuff like that. So I don't know, I try to be a voice against that as much as I possibly can, but it's hard times.
That is so interesting that you say that, because it's like you're shutting down ideas, you're shutting down potential, you're shutting down like, and everybody talks about like the power of connectedness. So that person has a good experience. Maybe they tell their family tells their friends. All of a sudden you get another 150 new users. That's why I think Christmas was so parabolic, because there was already a good amount of people that came in after Disney. Then you go back, you see all the cousins, friends, family. Yep. You're sitting there at Christmas Day, you're going through your app, and then now you got all these new people, right? So I feel like you're totally right. And that's why I don't know why, but a lot of people are really focused maybe on their own self and what they're trying to accomplish. But I find more people I have on my channel, the more friends I have, the stronger my foundation is, and the more I learn and become more intelligent, because I've seen so many varying perspectives. Like, you tell me today, like, dude, I couldn't get Todd off the shelf. And I'm going, what are you talking about? Like, I couldn't get a Todd for under a K. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, stuff like that is so cool, right?
Yeah.
So here's another question for you, dude. One guy on my channel, he's a super smart guy. He's like a financial guy. Was like, Chad, you would have been so much smarter to buy up a bunch of common Spider-Mans for the same price point that you put into Secret Rare Spider-Man. He did the math. And he's like, you almost would have doubled more money. You would have made almost double if you were buying in at like $25 or whatever, right? And my question to him, or my retaliation to him, was, well, the only thing I could say is that in collecting, from what I've seen, is that rich people want the best of the best. Like they want the hero number one, you know, whatever, Batman, right? Or they want the let's just say Rizzo number, you know, 17. Like they like, and Lewis Morgan, I think, was a good example of that. Like I was helping him, well, Danny and I were helping him talk about, you know, which collectibles to get. And he's like, I just want sub 100s of the best stuff. Don't even talk. If it's a 101, I don't want it, you know? Yeah. And and so my point is that, like, as much as you can have all these things at retail or close to that you can burn off really quickly, if we do get those mega, you know, whales and rich people that come in, are you better off potentially having something that's super scarce, like a one of one item, like the 1977 comic, or should people potentially be stacking more stuff in bulk? You know what I mean? From a physical collector, like, what do you think about that stuff?
Well, in my mind, you want to have the rare stuff, and he might have been right, but he also had the benefit of hindsight. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, right, okay, right. Yeah. Anybody could tell you, yeah, if you'd have done this, you could have done this. I mean, hell, if we all could do that, we'd all sold January. You know, that's just what we would have done. You know, so, but I can tell you from the history, at least from what I know. I mean, you want the IP and you want the rare stuff. That's just where the value is, you know, and that's why whenever I saw there was error HRO cards, and I knew they were first edition error cards, I went big on them. That's why, because of what I've seen in the past. But yeah, I mean, it is showing that the mint numbers, you know, I've never been the type of person who was like, low mints is everything. I never was that person. I always believed in scarcity of big IP. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really big into secret rare comics for that reason, you know, especially Grail comics. That's one of my biggest, you know, bags I have is secret rare Grail comics because of the rarity and the IP. Right. But now that I'm seeing how mint numbers can be used for utility with HRO and how much fun it is and how much I'm getting into it and how much everybody else is getting into it, and I'm seeing that utility being put out there around low mint numbers, it could be huge. It just depends on what the community and what VeVe decides to do with it. You know, I mean, that's just what it boils down to. But we have the mindsets now, you know, and that's where we're putting the seeds in people's heads. It's not VeVe doing it. It's us. It's me and you and, you know, everybody else, you know, Lewis Morgan, all these guys. We're putting that seed in people's head that low mints matter. Well, because we're building the foundation of all this with VeVe, with HRO, and these companies that are saying low mints matter, it's going to make low mints matter. You know, it's all us. It's all on us, which is super cool. You know, VeVe told us that the number one or the number 40 Todd Batman or whatever was worth $75. That's what they told us. You know, same thing with the number 7,200. So we're $75 because that's what it's, or 79, whatever it sold for in the store. That's what they said it was worth. The community makes up all the, you know, it's just completely depends on what we decide to do with it.
Wow, man. So like the thing is like, how does the community come to that ideology? Because here's one thing that I thought was fascinating. Like I put out a video April 2021. And I was like, I think this is what's going to matter. I was like, I think like sub 100s are going to sell for a high premium. Sub 200s, sub 300s will like, you know, be even an extra. And then I was like, I think a sub 1000 will be like important. People will like kind of search for those. And then I was like, the last mint, special mints, repeating mints, and anything that like goes with somebody's birthday. And I just put out this video talking about like what I saw. And then I talked to, I think it's like Granola Warfare, another person, and he had the same ideology. And then now I'm talking to you and you're like, you know, same kind of thing. Like, what the hell? Like, how did that, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, that wasn't ever a thing. And we just came in, and because we all saw these carbon copies and we're going, okay, how do we distinguish value? And then here's how we thought it worked. And like, you know what I'm trying to say? But it's just amazing mathematically that everybody had very similar ideas. And it turned out to be this system now that we're all a part of, right?
Because you made a video and you said that to everybody who was playing in the game.
I hope not. I don't want to be responsible.
Honest, well, it's in a system that nobody knows. And everybody's trying to figure the same thing. So if we all get on the same page and we're all playing the same game, and with your outreach and you're making that video, I watched that video. That video was influential to me coming in when I had no idea about any of this crap. Right. Okay. And I can tell you that from watching that, and then every one of your videos where you talk about, you know, where you talk about mint numbers and stuff like that, and watching Randy's videos where he talks about it, Cowls videos, everybody, it's just become the norm because that's where you guys put it. and
Right.
it does, go with other collecting stuff. The first is always more valuable. It seems that way, or it feels that way. And it makes a lot of sense, but it's getting pushed by the community and the communities who built it.
Wow. And then now the organizations like Hero are now like capitalizing on that, right? Which is insane. And then now, because they've almost like, established that model, it's almost like secured now in a sense into like history for NFTs, right? Which is wild.
Well, and the thing is, and I'm going to keep saying this, you and other guys don't realize how influential you've been to this space. You have no idea. It doesn't register in your head because you're just a normal guy in the space, which I understand. But because you had so much influence on that, I mean, you can't tell me Hero wasn't influenced by the stuff you guys came up with back then, to make these bit numbers so valuable, and see that's what people want to talk about, where people want to be with it. And it's cool, man. It's really cool what you guys have done. Yeah.
Wow, man, it's crazy to think like that could have actually been a factor. Like, because I like to think that I'm trying to stay clear here for any lawsuits, So, but it's funny because we notice these trends. So like, I don't know, so back in the day, man, I was trading my face off for VeVe NFTs because I came in when the market was shut down. The market shut down for 2 months. I came in on March 9th, and the market shut down 2 days before I jumped in. And then so you had to do all these escrow black market deals. And every time I would trade for like one thing that I liked for another, and like was thinking about the additions and the scarcity component, people would always send me a high ass mint.
Yeah.
And then I started having people requesting for this. And then I think David, you went into a whale group or something as well and started saying like, hey, guess what? People are really into this low mint stuff. But the craziest part is like all these ideologies come to be. And so I just find it fascinating, because my point to this on the larger scale now is like, we all believe in these licensed IP NFTs, like all of us in this space. And like you said, it's only going to take another 10x or 20x from here for people just like us that are going to get exposed to it, that will care about this aspect of it. Doesn't have to be everybody, but if you think about how small of a net VeVe's casted, or Hero and DC as well, it's only a matter of time before the net's a lot bigger and you get more people that are analytical and collectors like all of us, right?
Right. Yeah, that's it. And the bottom line, like I said earlier, it only takes 7,500 people to believe in Todd and say they're not going to sell it. That's all it takes.
Right.
That's it. And same thing with, it only takes 4,400, wallet holders to say they're not going to sell it, no matter what. And then it becomes priceless. That's just the way it is, and these lower prices, that's what's happening. The people who are buying right now are not flippers. The few people who are buying right now, and very few people are buying right now, but they're holders. They're people who want it because they want to hold it. And the more the stuff we get into the hands of those people who are willing to, make the sacrifice, that don't really, they're not putting their rent money in, so they don't need it back. They don't need to cash it out in a year. The more of that stuff that gets bought up, and we're seeing it a lot with like secret rare comics right now, because there's secret rare comics right now that there's only 10, 12, 14, 16 of them on the market. It's very few, and there's very, very few in the low price ranges, even with what the market's doing right now, so we're starting to see it with some of the low mint stuff, and the amount of people looking to sell, even though prices have dropped, the amount of people looking to sell has dropped as well too. We have way less people looking to sell now than we had, a few months ago.
Right. Exactly. That's a good point, man. And one thing I wanted to talk to you about too is I heard Matt Mason on a space one time, and this was interesting because right now you and I are like crypto guys, right? We're like big NFT people. Obviously, you're a collector as well, which is again amazing because this is our space. Like this is like this is designed for us, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But there's this guy that came on the spaces for the DC back Cowls, and he was like your total, like I'm talking like guy that only ever collected comic books. I think he was like very rural, like in terms of where he talked about where he lived and everything like that. And he was like, this is the first time I've heard about NFTs. And he's like, I'm interested. And he was asking Matt, like he had so many really important questions that I would have never thought of, because a lot of things that we talk about, it's just like almost seems like common sense, even though it's not, right?
Yeah.
And so he asked Matt, he's like, oh, well, is this going to be optional every 52 days? Like, well, I have to pay for something else in order to get that added utility. Like, is this kind of a cash grab? And then Matt was like, whoa. He's like, I actually feel embarrassed for not answering that question before. Because, these are great questions. But the coolest part of that is like, I was seeing an actual person from like that was strictly about the physical get converted. And my thinking after that was, holy shit, there's probably like only 3 people that went through that conversion, and the rest are just NFT crypto guys. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah,
Is
no,
there's like, right?
that's it. We're in such a small echo chamber. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I play poker a lot. I love playing poker. It's like one of my favorite pastimes. And before we could, before we couldn't do transfers anymore, I would sit at the poker table and, I would pull out my DeLorean or be driving it on the poker table, or whatever, just showing people NFTs, and I would get people to sign up, and I would get, I would send them a comic or whatever for their first NFT, and
Right.
I live in the Silicon Valley in California. I'm playing at, the Bay 101 Casino, or the Matrix Casino in San Jose, California, which is it's the Silicon Valley. This is where all this stuff happens. And 90% of the people I talk to are like, what's an NFT? What's that mean? Oh, you can drive that car? That's cool. You can, here I am with my Aston Martin shooting people at the poker table and stuff like that, they're like, what is going on? And I'm like, yeah, download it. And I'll send you it. But I'll send you a comic or whatever. And it's amazing how many people don't even know what this space is. And then I went back to Louisiana a couple weeks ago, and all of my friends there have no idea what I'm talking about. They're just like, what are you even saying? But then once you get into it and explain it to them, they love it, but I will say this, because we're a group of crypto people who understand crypto, we understand decentralization, we understand how that works. A lot of people in this space think decentralization is everything. For the masses, you can't have decentralization. You just can't. It's just not going to work. I truly believe that. I mean, if you think about it, decentralization is what we had in the Wild West. And that's why so many people lost all their money, got stolen from them, So, these people who argue that we have to have decentralization, I get their point. But as such a small group of people that believe that I think if we're going to go to the masses and we're going to have this, mass adoption we want, decentralization is not an option for this stuff, in my personal opinion, just because so many people are going to be scared to death of it. You're not going to be able to get people to understand how MetaMask works. You're not going to get them to understand how OpenSea works. You're just not, I'm one of those people. I couldn't care less about that stuff. I use Immutable X because I use it with HRO because they made it super, super simple. But even I, screwed up on Immutable X the other day and lost $250 that because, I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm in this stuff all the time. So I think that's something else we need to really work on as a community, is understanding that we need these other people, and we don't just need crypto and NFT people in, because, we can get mass adoption because of the IP we have. It's very possible, but you're never going to get it if you're just constantly pushing for decentralization.
Man, that's so well said. And like the funny thing too with decentralization is like it's almost like an oxymoron or an inverse of what people think, because on one end they're like, oh, we got to make it all decentralized. So what they're doing is like you get these people pumping their bags and then selling, and then everything's trackable on the blockchain. And these investigators are going in and going like, all right, here's your post. Oh yeah, all the things rose, and then you sold at the peak. All right, well listen, bud, like as you wouldn't get that in any other place. So it's kind of funny how it's kind of the opposite from that.
Yeah. Everybody wants decentralization until their stuff gets stolen, and then nobody wants decentralization anymore. It's kind of funny how it works out. But.
And then you got to pull your stuff out. Like, dude, like when you're going through all these different exchanges, it's not like I can go buy things with ETH yet. Bitcoin had a few things like Tesla, but for the most part, you couldn't do too much with it. Yeah. And then you go to an exchange, and in Canada, they're getting like super serious on which exchanges you can use, and it's all like your passport's inserted. So as soon as you pull out 50K. It's not going under the radar. You don't just walk away with 50 grand from crypto.
The government's definitely watching you for sure. That's something else a lot of people don't realize. It's like, they're gonna learn how, especially in the US, they're gonna tax this stuff. If you have, that's the people they're gonna start auditing, in my opinion, are the people who are making the big crypto returns. That's the people they're gonna want to audit, because that's the people they feel like, and I'm not saying this, but the government feels like those are the people who are trying to pull something over on them. And if you look at it, like watch any show about crime, all the money's in Bitcoin or all the money's in Ethereum. It's all done through crypto, because it's decentralized, they can hide it. And that's why it's taken so long to get MTL, because these companies and these companies have to do everything these countries want them to do to prove that's not what's happening. And it's very hard to prove that's not what's happening, especially when you have things going on like we have with the credit card situation we had not too long ago and all that. It's a big deal. It's not something it's not like you fill out a form and you get MTL. That's not how any of this works, but a lot of people in this community, I think that's how it works.
Right. And this is funny that you say that, because I know there's a lot of money laundering happening, and outside of these licensed NFTs, I can't comprehend as to why some of these projects are the price the way they are, right?
Yeah,
Because I'm like, exactly. At least with this stuff, I can revert back to physical comics. I can talk about their worth and how people love the fandom, the lore, etc. But I'm like, some of these things, like a Squiggly Wiggly, just went for 800 ETH or something, and I'm just like, okay, that might have been like some black market cocaine deal.
Yeah, nothing fishy going on here at all.
Exactly. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So,
oh, I hear you, man.
I
hear you.
It's
well,
just
that's I wish people would think more about that before they start complaining about not being able to cash out and the money transmitter license not being here and all. I wish people would look at the grand scheme of what a money transmitter license is, and what it's gonna. And I honestly, I have no idea what it takes to get one, but I know what it's trying to do. And to do that on a worldwide level is gonna take time. I don't care who you are. I mean, you try to start a business in the US and you have to get a state tax ID license, takes you months to get. I mean, it's just not realistic to think that they can do all this stuff instantly. So, but they're doing it right, and I think it's more important that they do it correctly than try to rush it anyway. So, I have no problem with the way that's going. So.
No, and what's the alternative, right? Like, okay, you don't believe in VeVe, you can go and try to get a SpongeBob SquarePants pants on OpenSea, one of 10,000 with different flavors of pant. And, bet your luck that the guy that has no name in the that created the website is going to do you well, right? And then I've been involved in a lot, and I've got rug pulled in a lot. A lot of them went to zero. And that was my interest in VeVe. I was like, okay, please, somebody give me some safety and some insurance here. Right.
Yeah.
So,
and we all know that most NFTs are going to fail. I'm going to put my money on the license stuff. I just think it's just smarter. I mean, nothing. If you go online and you Google Disney's biggest failures, their biggest failures were Snow White. Snow White was one of their biggest failures. Think about that. Wow. Snow White is internationally known. It's one of the hugest Disney movies anybody knows. That is one of their biggest failures was Snow White. Wow, that's insane. It just didn't make any money at the box office. Took a long time for people to catch on to it. It just didn't make any money. And you go through the list. I don't remember what else is on the list, but it's like their failures were ended up being successes. Is my point. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I just don't see them back in something like this if it was going to be a big failure. Now as a community, what are they going to be worth? They tell us that on the drops they're worth $60 or $50. We're the ones that say it's worth 10,000 or whatever. So we can't get mad at Disney and VeVe whenever the prices drop after we're the ones that's put the prices where they were.
Dude, I love that. A lot of people don't think about that because we're the community that went in. Some people went ham about it, but they said, listen, this is what we're pricing it at. And I think even VeVe, like, okay, so this is another cool thing because in the physical collecting space, as a Funko Pop, as an example, I've seen some of the appreciation values there. Sometimes it's like a 1.5x. Yeah, every now and then you get one that's gone really crazy, but like for the most part, people make buy it for $40, make $20 over a year and a half. Am I wrong? Like that's the general trajectory, right?
There's not a whole lot. Well, there's certain exclusive. Well, I don't know if you said it's kind of changes the subject, but they actually had today Funko Pop, the first one ever sold for $100,000. It was the first ever. I put it on my Twitter. Yeah, it was the golden ticket, the lucky golden ticket Funko Pop from Willy Wonka, sold for $100,000. I think it was yesterday or the day before. So it's pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean that's the way most investments work, and that's the way most real world things work. But it's just a lot of people want the big 50x. But the problem is they don't want to sell once they get the 50x. Then they want to go for the 100x. And that's what that's what I did in January. I just like, heck yeah, this is going to keep going. I'm going to keep buying. I'm going to keep dollar cost averaging all the way down to the floor.
Right.
But I think long term, I think we're all in a really good spot, and I think we just got to, as a community, keep each other uplifted and just don't invest more than you can afford to lose. And I think that's where most people are messing up. And people are like, I saw my account. I have about $100,000 invested in VeVe right now. Yeah. And my account at one point was worth about $260,000. And right now it's worth about $110,000. So it's dropped dramatically, but it's not money I need to pay my bills. It's money that, like I told you earlier, I made that money, every penny of it. I got lucky last year on Dogecoin and AMC, just playing pump and dumps. And I just stuck it right in, in VeVe, and it didn't come out of my business or anything like that. And I think a lot of people made that mistake when they saw it shooting up. You know, they overextended themselves, and now that everything's crashing, they're in a bad spot. And I feel for those people, but you know, we've all been there, and hopefully it was a good learning experience, and you know, hopefully you don't do it again.
Yeah. Nicely said, man. And I think that's the crazy part is like how selfish can we get, right? Like when Todd had over $100 million market cap, like you got to start thinking to yourself, like, holy shit, like this is $100 million market cap.
It's freaking stupid.
And, yeah, you know,
crazy. Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. You know, I think, and I think that's the difficult aspect is like, you know, you always want to see what's on the other side of the hill, because in some weird places like Bored Apes, if my Bored Ape ever hit 50K and I didn't know this thing was taking off, I would have sold that shit faster
in a heartbeat. Yeah,
right?
I hear you.
I would have never known it was going to go to the 350K floor American for me too. So that would be like almost $500,000. You know what I'm trying to say? Who was the balls for that, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I my first big drop I hit that really got me addicted to VeVe was I hit the Steamboat Willie Ultra Rare on the drop, you know, and I paid $60 for that. And, you know, saw it go up to, you know, $9,000 or whatever it was. But even now I look at it, it's way down. It's down like $1,000 now. It dropped down that much. Same. But it's still, you know, like a 20X for me from where I bought it, you know, 5 months ago. True. And it's like, where else in the world would you complain about a 20X in 5 months, you know? But people are going crazy about it, you know? It's right. And I get it. You know, the people who bought it at $9,000. Yeah, I feel for those people. But I mean, you have to realize that, I mean, it was just unsustainable where we were at. So, and I know you had Superstar Money on the other day, and what they keep saying about they're great dudes, by the way. I love those
they're
guys.
Awesome. Superstar Rob and Superstar Joe.
Superstar Money. But they're always talking about, you know, the gem supply and how it's just spread out, and they're absolutely right. You know, it's just every drop we get, you know, like a comic drop today, you know, you look at $7 for 30,000, you know, that's $210,000 to buy, you know, to sell that drop out. Well, if you're only putting in 50,000 gems a day, you know, those other 150,000 gems are coming out of the other collectibles. They have to be. Right. So it's just the more we're doing that, the more it's spread it out, and the lower things are going to go until we can get more people in, you know, into the app. Yeah.
Dude, listen, it's been a friggin' pleasure having you on. I feel like we could have talked for the next 5 hours. Like
we could. No doubt.
We're gonna have to keep in contact and do this again soon, man. And I'd love to learn more about Hero. Like I'm definitely, you know, open to it. But let's see what those Canadian flags are all about, right? Like let me know what that is.
Well, but before you log off, if you don't mind, I'm gonna give away a few Hero cards just to.
Whoa, look at this!
You know, if anybody wants some, so we're gonna for anybody who wants some Hero cards, if you hug out this long.
Oh, look at that!
Give away a few cards. I don't even know what I'm giving away, but.
Dude, could be some big hitters.
Hook some people up with some Hero cards. Check it out. Send me trades. I'm number 2 on the leaderboard, so I'm just looking to move up and see what happens. So yeah, I wanted to do that, give away some cards. So.
Dude, that's so nice of you, man. That's gonna be fun because when we premiere it, you know, they're gonna be some lucky people.
Heck yeah, people be fighting. If they watch this long, they deserve a little something from me rambling on for over an hour.
No, that's been great, man. Well, listen, it's been, like I said, it's been a pleasure having you on. I was a big fan of your channel before. I feel like there's still so much, you know, we could talk about in the future. So we'll have to have you on again soon, dude.
Absolutely, man. And you're welcome to come on with me anytime.
I'd love to. Yeah, we got to do like a Pokemon pack battle or something, you know.
That would be wonderful, man. You're talking my language for sure. Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate all you guys.
Thanks so much, Rob. Take care, buddy.
Later.